memory, storage, and Calldata, what it means and how to use them. This is the topic of this video. Hello, my name is Steve Anthony and welcome on my new channel Proof of Dev. And if you're ready, let's roll the intro. So let's suppose we have a boolean like this, and we have a function that will modify this boolean. So we will call this function test. Now, what could be the use of the keyword memory or storage? You can use those two things on a variable. The memory keyword is only for variable that will be used inside the function. It will be a variable that you want to read, to modify, but it will have nothing to do with a state variable. And you will use the storage keyword for state variable that you want to modify or read. It will be a way to specify the location of the data if it's stored on the blockchain for storage or if it's on the memory. And basically it will be interesting if you want to optimize the code and save some gas fee. Alright, so now let's try something in order to show how it works. So we will declare another boolean here, and we will call this one my local boolean. And we will retrieve this value here. And after that we will set the value of my local boolean at true. And now let's say we want to modify my local boolean a lot, like we need to make a lot of operation on this, like, you know, we will set this value at false and at true. Basically there is a lot of operation, as you can see, and we don't want this operation to call the blockchain, which means we don't want my boolean to be modified each time. We don't want a pointer to this. We want to make some operation in the function, in the memory of the function. So we will do this. And as you can see, we cannot do this because if we take a look at the error here, we will see that we can use the memory or the storage keyword only for an array, a mapping, or a structure. So we will make some change in order to make it work. So the first thing we need to do is to define a structure. Now we will modify our function test. So we will call this my local struct like this. And we will copy this. And after that, we will modify my struct value equal to. Oops, I forget this. So I will remove this. And then as you can see, there is an error here again, and this time we are asked to use the storage or memory keyword or Calldata. So we will use the storage keyword to begin with. The last thing we need to do, because I don't want to make a getter, is to add the public keyword so we can see the value of my struct. Alright, so now it's time to deploy our contract. So deploy, as you can see. So we have my struct and the test function. So we will call in the first place my struct in order to see the value inside my struct. So as you can see, this is 1. And if we call the test function and we recall my struct, we can see the value is now 2. So it means that this variable, my local struct, will be a pointer to the state variable my struct. And what it means is every time you modify my local struct, you will call in fact the blockchain in order to modify it. So it will cost you a lot of gas fee. So what you can do if you want to modify a lot your variable, you can use the memory keyword like this. And then after that we can call this variable anytime we want because it's in memory. As you can see, there is a warning here and you will understand why. If we deploy the contract and we click, so in my struct, so we have 1 here, we call test again, and this time if we recall my struct, the value is still 1. And the reason is because when you use the memory keyword, it will copy this variable inside this one, and then if you want to modify this variable, you need to do something like this. So use state variable equal my local variable, and as you can see there is no more warning. So if we try again, we deploy again, take a look at my struct, it's 1 test, and we go back on my struct, and as you can see, the value is now 4, so it worked correctly. But what you need to keep in mind is that if you want to modify a lot your variable inside your function, you probably want to use the memory keyword, because it will cost you less than if you want to modify each time your state variable, because you will need to call the blockchain every time. So this is the utility of the memory and the storage keyword. Now the third keyword I want to talk to you about is Calldata. The Calldata keyword is also a way to define a data location for your variable. But this time it works only with parameter. It's only if the parameter is in read-only. Okay, so let's code a little bit in order to show you how it works. So the first thing we need to do is to define a function like this. We will call this one test call data. And it will be a function public, a pure function, and it will returns a uint. But it will be an array because, as we have seen here with the test function, the memory and the storage keyword are for struct, array, and type. And it's the same for Calldata. So we will return an array called numbers, and this array will be passed with the parameter. So it will be a uint, an array called number. And as you can see, there is already an error here. So it's asked to use the memory or the Calldata keyword. So we will use the Calldata for the parameter. And we use it here too. So as you can see, now it compiled perfectly. So we will try to deploy the function to see if it works. We go here. Here we will define an array, and this array will be this test, and it returns an array with 2 parameters inside. So it worked normally. Now let's suppose we want to modify one item of the number array. So we will do this like this. So we want to modify the first element, and we want this element to be 22. And as you can see, if we save, we have an error because a Calldata array are read-only, which means that if you pass your data with the Calldata keyword, you cannot modify this one. So we will use then the memory keyword. And this time there is no problem because the memory keyword allows us to modify the variable as we want. We will try if it works. So we clean this thing, we deploy it again, and we will add our array. So the first will be 1 and the second will be 3. And we call this function. And as you can see, the first item of our array is now 22, so it means our function work, and that's it. So by the way, all this thing will help you to optimize the code and save some gas fee. Alright, so now you are the king of the data location, you know how to use memory, storage, and Calldata. In the next video, I will talk to you about how to create your library. It was Steve Anthony from Proof of Dev. Have a good day and see you next time.